Senator Ted Cruz responding a short time ago to news of the charges against Trump's campaign manager being charged with simple battery, as we've told you. Here's what Cruz had to say.
It's a very sad development, and this is the consequence of the culture of the Trump campaign, the abusive culture. When you have a campaign that is built on personal insults, on attacks, and now physical violence, that has no place in a political campaign. It has no place in our democracy.
Joining us for more on this, Chad Sweet, National Chair of the Ted Cruz campaign. Great to have you on The Real Story. We just got Ted Cruz's version of the real story about what he thinks happened in this event. Obviously, you agree with your candidate.
Well, the video speaks for itself. Millions of Americans can see it with their own eyes. I think the Jupiter police are obviously law enforcement professionals. They're not political. They've looked at the evidence and believe that there is probable cause. But at the end of the day, as the senator said, this is sad and unfortunate because what the Trump campaign is offering here is empty solutions and distractions, while Senator Cruz is trying to offer real solutions for real people facing real problems. And every minute that we're spending talking about Corey and this unfortunate incident is a minute we're wasting and not being able to give the voters solutions to help them get jobs, more take-home pay, and securing our borders and our country.
I want you to take a look as well at something that John Kasich's chief strategist, John Weaver, put out about this. Here's what he said. Campaigns reflect the values of the candidate. I know ours does. If this bully worked for John Kasich, he would have been fired long ago. Would you agree with that statement? If this was within the Cruz campaign, would somebody have been fired?
Well, the leaders set the standards for their organizations and then hold them accountable. That's what leadership's about. We've had 8 years of a president that does not hold the IRS accountable for abuse, does not hold the State Department for the death of an ambassador and 3 other great Americans. What Senator Cruz demonstrated, even in our own campaign, is we had an incident, as you may recall, where we had an individual who was a good man but unfortunately had made a mistake that did not reflect the values of Senator Cruz, and he made that tough decision to dismiss that individual.
Right. You're talking about Rick Tyler, right?
Correct. And I think Senator Cruz has demonstrated that's what leadership's about. So Donald Trump sets the standards for his organizations. They reflect him, and he will have to make the decision on whether that is an appropriate thing to do given the standards he's set for himself.
Well, we just heard from our reporter on the ground, sorry to interrupt you, Blake, who was talking about the tweets that Donald Trump had put out once this new video from the police in Jupiter came to light. And he said, wow, a Lewandowski, very decent man, was just charged with assaulting a reporter. Look at tapes, nothing there. Is that problematic for Donald Trump moving forward if, in fact, more tapes are released or, you know, this thing comes to fruition and actually, you know, he's convicted of this assault?
Well, Gretchen, I can say this. In our campaign, we have a fantastic campaign manager, Jeff Rowe, and a great strategist, Jason Johnson. They're full-time on this campaign, and the idea that they would be engaged in literally a law enforcement action distracting from the campaign is a regrettable and frankly unrealistic situation. So, and I think at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, again, law enforcement would not engage in this unless they had an apolitical judgment that this was worthy of investigation and proceeding further. So if more evidence comes forward, it'll simply reinforce the judgment of law enforcement. At the end of the day, Senator Cruz, though, is going to focus on the issues that matter to the voters, offering real solutions on jobs, freedom, and security.
And
that's what you're going to hear from him.
I want to get to that right
Governor
now,
Walker.
because it was a big day for you. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, who was formerly a presidential candidate on the Republican side, he is endorsing Ted Cruz today, saying he wants to make sure he's for something, not against something. How important is this endorsement of Scott Walker with the Wisconsin primary coming up next week?
It's huge. We were already leading in Wisconsin, if you look at some of the latest polls, with Governor Walker's endorsement, who is highly respected throughout the state. That will give us an even further lift. And it sends a signal to the voters, especially the parents who have children that are trapped in underperforming schools. Senator Cruz is going to fight, just like Governor Walker did, to have accountability He views that the unions that have unfortunately fought against reform and fought against high standards for teachers are part of the problem. So just like Governor Walker did, Senator Cruz is going to be a champion for education reform. He sees it as one of the civil rights issues of our times.
Okay.
But he's also going to be focusing on jobs, freedom, and security.
All right.
As well. And you'll hear that as well from both Governor Walker and Senator Cruz. But I would also note, Gretchen,
yes,
of the 17 candidates that started this race, we see 5 now that have come behind Senator Cruz, and that is an example of how the party is, in fact, unifying, and Senator Cruz is bringing us together to help defeat Hillary Clinton in the fall.
All right. Chad Sweet with the Cruz campaign, thanks much.